Welcome back to part two of study design. Today we're going to be going over sampling methods. So this lesson is going to cover a lot of different vocabulary. We're going to be looking at word problems and deciding what type of sampling method is being used for for the study or experiment that's happening or anything that's being sampled. So we're going to learn first what a simple random sample is, compare the most common sampling methods, identify when each method should be used, and then we'll also recognize some of the advantages and disadvantages of each method. So this first part shows us some vocabulary. Just go ahead and take a screenshot of this, or you can jot down in your notes, maybe just a quick description of what each of these are, because we'll be using these for all of our example problems. Um, so a simple random sample is where every possible sample of the same size has an equal chance of being selected. So everybody has an equal chance. A stratified sample is where a sample is obtained by dividing the population into strata. Um, so we group things by traits, and then we take samples from every group. So we take just a small sample of each of the different groups that we've separated the groups into. A cluster sample is very similar. We still create different groups, but then we take samples, excuse me, uh, we examine all of that group or all of the groups. So we have individual groups and then we look at all of the groups. A systematic sample is sort of like a pattern. We have a starting point and then we select every, say, 10th person or every 20th person or every 100th person. And we just use that pattern. So in the definition here, it says every nth individual. That just means uh, it can be any number. A convenience sample is we just sample whoever's the easiest to reach or get a hold of, whoever's the closest. In a voluntary response sample, these are quite common. It's whoever steps forward or whoever chooses to participate. These are common when in things like surveys, when you get a survey at the end of a call, for example, or a survey on a receipt. Those are just voluntary response samples. Okay, so let's take a look at our first example here. It says Mr. Thompson runs his own printing and bookbinding business. He suspects the machine isn't putting enough glue into the book spines, and he decides to inspect his most recent order of 70 textbooks to test his theory. He numbers them 01 through 70, 1 through 70, but there are two digits for each one of them. So we use a random digit table that's printed below, and then he selects a simple random sample. So everyone or everything has an equal chance of being selected of 5 books to check. And we want to know which books are in the sample. We have this string of numbers here. So to start this, I would say let's write the numbers as a list a little bit differently. You can either rewrite them or you can separate them every 2 digits. Maybe like draw a line like that if that helps you. You can do that instead if you don't want to write them all out. I'm going to write all these out though. So 85, 06, 35, 58, 10, 10 again, 47, 00, 80, 29, 30, 02, and then we just have a 5 by itself at the end. Let's put that. Okay, so that's our list of digits. Now we're only looking for 01 through 70. That's what we're looking for. So we're gonna skip anything that's greater than 70. So 85 we're gonna skip. 6 is between 1 and 70. 35 is between 1 and 70. 58 is between 1 and 70. 10 is between 1 and 70. We have another 10. I'm going to put that in red because it's a duplicate. And we're looking for the first 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 books so far. And then 47 is the number 1 through 70. Okay, so we're going to stop here. That's 5 books. So we're going to stop at. Okay, now we're just going to find which digits are circled in blue on our list here. So A is wrong because it lists 10 twice. That would be like sampling um, book number 10 2 times, and we wouldn't want to do that in this study here, in this sample. Looks like B has those digits: 6, 35, 58, 10, and 47. And that's all we have to do for this one. Let's look at one more that's very similar, except this time it's just one digit, so it's a little bit easier. A robotics club has built 10 prototype drones for a competition. The team decides to select a simple random sample of 3 drones for a stress test. Each drone is labeled 0 through 9, and the team uses a random digit table printed below to choose the sample. Okay, so we have 0 through 9. These are now just one digit at a time. And just by looking at this, it doesn't look like anything is greater than 9. So it looks like we can use all of these digits here. I'm just going to write them out quickly. 3, 7, 3, 7, 4, 7, 5, 2. I'm just going to stop there. I just stopped there because we're only looking for 3, the first 3. And remember, we're not doing any duplicates. So 3, 7. We already had a 3. I'm going to circle that in red. We already had a 7. I'm going to circle that in red. And then we have a 4, and that's our third digit where we would stop at. Stop at 3 drones. Okay, and that one's just 374. Answer choice C. So these aren't too bad, and we don't really have to use the definitions that we had in the very beginning. But now we're going to get into sampling methods, more specifically with using these vocabulary terms here. And if you didn't get a chance to write them down, here they are again. That's just the same thing that we had in the beginning. Okay, so looking at number 1, a politician asks his neighbors their opinions about a controversial issue. What type of sample is this? And we have all of these different options here. And let me just put a shortcut list here for us for our first example, so we can just take a look at that a little bit easier. So we want to decide, is it a simple random sample, stratified, cluster, systematic, or none of the above? And if he's asking his neighbors, then those are people that just so happen to live next to him. And that would be a convenience sample. So whoever is closest are, well, his neighbors are probably going to be closest to him. And so that's convenience sampling. And we don't have any of those on this list. So this one is none of the above, convenience sampling. Okay, looking at example number 2, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just put our quick list here and see if we can solve this a little bit easier by having our definitions right here next to us. So a hospital wants to survey religious participants in their city about what they seek from a hospital chaplain. They randomly select 5 religious meetings in the city, and they survey every participant in those meetings. What type of sample is this? Okay, so a meeting is a group of people, and they're randomly selecting 5 meetings. So they're randomly selecting 5 groups of people. So now we have groups is what we're looking at. So now we can say this is either a stratified or a cluster sample. So we can cross out A, D, and we know it's not none of the above either. So stratified sample, the groups are by traits, and they take a sample from every group. And A cluster sample is they sample all of some of the groups. And so it says that they survey every participant in those meetings. So that would be that they're sampling all of some of those groups. So that would be a cluster sample. Okay, let's look at a few more of these. These are, I think, a little bit tougher to go through all these definitions with. So I put 4 examples for these. So a little bit more examples on this one topic. There's our cheat sheet. A restaurant leaves comment cards on all of its tables to learn about customer satisfaction. Each comment card is a brief survey that customers can fill out if they choose to. This one is the customers can choose. So it's their choice, and that is a voluntary response. Whoever steps forward, it's their choice. And we don't have that on our answer choices, so we get none of the above again. And again, this is very common with questionnaires and surveys, things that are left on your receipt or staying on the phone after a phone call and doing an optional survey. All right, the last one here is a large company surveys 100 employees by taking random samples of 10 managers and 90 non-managers, which are just the standard employees. What type of sample is this? And we'll look at our cheat sheet one more time. Let me put that here so we can take a look at these again. Okay, so we have 100 employees, and it looks like we're putting them into 2 different groups. So 10 managers, 90 employees. So we have groups. So now we can narrow that down to either stratified sampling or cluster sampling. So we can cross out the rest of these. And left with B and C. Okay, so now we have to decide, are we sampling everyone or are we just going to sample some people from these groups? So this one is, we're going to sample some people from each group. This is a stratified random sample. We're only sampling some of the people from each group. Okay, on to the next topic. This is called sampling method considerations. This is almost like working backwards. This time we're asked questions that tell us the sampling method that's given to us, and we have to determine what strategy would be used to accomplish the design for the study. So we're going to look for some keywords here to figure out what type of sampling method that is, and it's going to tell us in the problem. And then we're going to decide which of these would match that sampling method, which description would match it. So it says Lillian's favorite magazine published 50 issues last year, and each issue contained approximately 250 pages. She wants to take a cluster random sample of about 1,000 total pages to estimate what proportion of all pages contained an advertisement. Which of these strategies will accomplish her intended design? Okay, so the first one says examine the first 50 pages in the 20 most recent issues. Okay, if she did that, this would be a convenient sample. If we just looked at the first 50 pages in the 20 most recent issues, that would just be much more convenient to get those recent issues because they're easier to find. More importantly, though, she wants to take a cluster random sample. That's what we're looking for here. We want to see which of these answer choices shows a group, and we're sampling all of some of those groups. So A is not separating things into groups. For B, it says assign a unique number to each page and use a computer to randomly select 1,000 of those numbers. This would be a simple random sample. This is a great example of a simple random sample, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a cluster random sampling. For C, it says examine 20 randomly selected pages from each of the 50 issues. This one is in groups, but this would be a stratified random sample because it involves selecting some of the pages from all of the issues. Um, but she wants a cluster sample. So we want to involve selecting all of the pages from some of the issues. So not C. D says randomly select 4 issues and examine every page in those issues. So it looks like in D, they're making 4 groups and then they're examining every page within the group. And that is a cluster random sample. And then for E, it says put the issues in a random order and examine every 10th page until 1,000 pages have been examined. This also would be a systematic sample. That's not correct either. Okay, we're going to look at just one more of these, and that's going to be it for the lesson for today. The next one is about a concert venue offering tickets in 3 zones: orchestra, grand tier, and the balcony. And the tickets in the orchestra zone are the most expensive. The tickets in the balcony zone are the least expensive. Managers of the venue want to survey approximately 150 guests at an upcoming concert about their overall experience. They want to take a systematic random sample of 3,000 guests that they expect to attend. Which of these strategies will accomplish their intended design? Okay, so a systematic random sample, that's like every 100th person or every 10th person or every 1,000th person. That would be a systematic random sample. So just by looking at the answer choices, I can already see that it's going to be E because it says every 20th guest thereafter to take the survey. That's the only one that says every nth amount will take the survey. But let's look at the other ones so we can see some counter examples as well. So randomly select a row and invite every guest in that row to participate in the survey. Continue to randomly select rows like this until about 150 total guests have been selected. Okay, so they're randomly selecting a group, then they're inviting every guest in that group to participate in the survey. That is cluster sampling. So this one is cluster sampling. Okay, for B, it says use a computer to randomly select 150 tickets and invite those guests to participate in the survey. This one is just a simple random sample. Everyone has an equal chance of being selected. This is SRS, simple random sample for B. For C, it says randomly select 50 tickets from each zone and invite those guests to participate in the survey. Okay, so they're randomly selecting 50 tickets from each group and then inviting them to participate. This one is just stratified. So they stratified. Okay, and then for D is invite the first 150 guests that arrive to participate in the survey. The first people that arrive, that would just be a convenient sample because that's whoever is the closest or whoever got there the soonest in this case. This is a convenient sample. Okay, and again, we were looking for systematic. Systematic. That was every nth person. That was the answer to this question here. Okay. All right. So that is everything on sampling methods.